come back and watch the meeting. So our guest speaker for this evening will be Brooke Tillman. So I want to encourage everyone to, listen and get as much resource you can get from today, and this will be good. So the floor is yours, Ms. Brooke.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brooke. As mentioned, today I'm going to go over with you how I transitioned from the service to the civilian workforce. Beyond that, I also want to add in some helpful hints and things that I learned after that transition that I hope can benefit you, so it will make it easier to have more information at your fingertips, and you will be able to successfully transition from military service to the civilian sector. With that being said, I want to say that everyone's journey is different, and what worked for me might or might not work for you, and what didn't work for me might work for you. But it is always good to have more information rather than less. That way you have options to choose from, you have multiple paths to take. If one path doesn't work, you can throw that sucker in reverse and move forward with another one, right? Right. All right. The goal here is to not only use what is comfortable, but to also stretch into things that might not be comfortable, and to continue to grow in new areas and maybe pass it along to others in the future, because sharing is caring. All right. As I mentioned, I'm Brooke. I was born in Millington, Tennessee, to a single mother who served 20 years in the Navy. With my mother as a role model, I decided that I would also serve my country, which I did, serving 14 years active and over 14 years in the reserves. I have a Bachelor of Science in Networking Telecommunications, and I started on my master's last year in IT project management. I'm currently a cybersecurity engineer for Lockheed Martin and have been with the company for almost 14 years. The path to my current role started over 28 years ago when I joined the Air Force. I joined with a guaranteed job as a mainframe computer maintenance personnel, and I had no experience prior to that. I just had an okay ASVAB score and a Sergeant Jones in MEPS that became my first advocate. And we'll go more on advocates later. Throughout my military career, I was able to do a lot more than I ever envisioned. Postmistress at a deployed location, AV tech for the chapel. I was able to honor those that serve by serving in the honor guard and work with unmanned aerial vehicles. So, oh, hold on one second. I just saw something that I want to mark that up. Okay. So, prepping for your transition. For me, I made the decision twice, once for separating and the next for retirement. This will combine what I learned from both of those times. I started 1 year out for each one, and while there are many reasons, mine centered around a lack of growth, stop loss, and personal reasons. From active duty, even though I knew I would be seeking to go directly back into the service under reserves, I also realized that I would still need a full-time job because the reserves wasn't a guarantee. So let's get in it. First step, get yourself a sturdy notebook. So this is my notebook. I chose it because it's funny and it just made me laugh during all of the times I needed to laugh. So it reflects my humor. Around 1 year out, start scheduling your TAPS and retirement classes. Seek out those websites. Remember, the Google wizard is your friend. You're going to take a lot of notes, hence the notebook. I still refer to this notebook now for things that I wrote when I was retiring or preparing to retire and going to those classes. Some of these retirement works websites that are good. And also I'm going to mention websites and hopefully at a later time be able to get a list of those websites that I mentioned during this to Akoli. And that way she can give it out if anybody would care to have any of those to reference later. But some of the websites that I went to, militarytimes.com, Military One Source, they have transition, they have a survival guide with checklists. The VA, they have vets in the workplace. Benefits, the VA benefits. Did you know that the VA had their own online tap class? I didn't. As I said, Google is your friend. So again, a lot of these things are available, but not everything is always talked about. And I'm going to apologize in advance because I have a cat who sometimes likes to join in these kind of Zoom meetings, even though I didn't see her for the past hour. On your resume, sorry, I'm going to try and get her out. On your resume, you're going to leverage your EPRs and your OPRs, your enlisted performance and officer performance reports. This is where the TAP retirement classes and courses will be helpful. You want to start working on your resume, but you also want to remember that your resume is not a cut and paste from your EPR. All right. You want to work on being able to use power words, and unlike EPRs, when you write them, make it make sense. I know we're all experienced with EPRs and OPRs that are cut down to the point where you don't even know what the point you're trying to get across. On your civilian resume, you're going to use sentences, you're going to get your point across, you're going to use words like developed, designed. You're going to use those kind of power words. You are showcasing yourself. You're going to leverage your EPR, but you're not going to use the exact bullets in your EPR. I actually used a resume service, where I gave them my EPRs and my old resumes, and that was a great investment. To this day, I still use that template, and it only cost me a couple $100 initially, but I can tell you from the jobs that I've gotten because of it, it was definitely worth that initial investment. So I would highly recommend, if that's something that seems helpful to you, that you budget that in earlier rather than later. You're going to look at job recs. You're going to compare and align requirements with what you want to do and have done. You're going to highlight it. And then again, you're going to use power words. Now, I want to stop right here for a second, because we're going to talk a little about whether you're technical and non-technical. So we have some people that in the Air Force or wherever, they might not be in a technical position right now, and they want to move into a cybersecurity type of field that is more technical, and you need to have that technical aspect in your background. What can you do? You have e-learning, you have my learning. You want to leverage the resources that you have. And we're going to go a little bit more into that, but also I want to talk about how to align some of your current requirements into what you might want to do. So let's take an avionics troop. And an avionics troop might not have any cyber type of experience, but they might deal with software upgrades, hardware upgrades. You can leverage that into your resume. You might not have a cyber focused job, but you want to align the job that you're going for with the job you have right now. You have upgraded several aircraft hardwares, that's remove, replace. You need to start looking at those kind of details and translating it into what you want to do to show them that you can do it. You want to make sure that you go on the job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, USA Jobs, clearance jobs, sign up for those notifications, create a search that sends you a weekly notification of new jobs. You want to start listening to word of mouth. Everybody has friends both inside and outside of the military. Start talking to the people that are already out. Do they like their company? Do they like their job at that company? Start making that list now, and then you're going to start looking at that. you're going to, excuse me, use that list to look deeper into those companies that you might be intrigued with. You're going to start looking, do they have a lot of layoffs? When was their last layoff? You're going to look at the company whose products you like. Like you might like Apple. Hey, we know Apple needs cyber, right? Or what have you. You're going to see if they have openings. You're going to think outside of the Department of Defense. A lot of us like to just go with what is normal, what we're used to, but you're going to start looking outside. Look at healthcare, cyber and healthcare. It is important. HIPAA. Look at Target. Look at stores that you go to on a weekly basis. Go to their websites and see what they have available in that cyber field. All right. 3 to 6 months out, here's where we're going to start working with our training records. If you are fully qualified, you're going to get an export of your entire training record to include your archive training task. For me, I was in for 28 years and went through several career changes and AFSC changes. You can forget a lot when you have been in for 28 years. If you have this hard copy or digital copy, it's a lot easier to see all of the things that you've done, and you're going to incorporate that into your resume. You're going to leverage your CBTs, all right? You have e-learning, you have my learning, especially if you're looking to go outside of your AFSC. You go into e-learning and you look for the AFSC that you're interested in. They have them all. You can sign up for some of their courses and one, figure out if that's really what you want to do, but two, start getting that extra training in. When you get that interview, they're going to be asking you questions, and those CBTs are going to be able to facilitate and show them that not only do you have past experience in X, Y, and Z, but you're also able to learn on your own and push forward to a goal that you see. When we're talking about, and I know a lot of this is stuff that focuses on if you're in the military. I know we have spouses. With spouses, one of the things you can do, especially if you're transitioning into a more, or you're trying to transition into a more technical or cyber focused career, is in your current job, start volunteering to do additional cyber focus or security focused thing. Ask if you can do a monthly cyber bite presentation or a newsletter. Get in there and come up with good ideas that are a little bit outside of your comfort and start researching that. See if you can be an alternate sysadmin or a cyber liaison within your work center. I know for the military side, they used to send you to a week-long local course if you were going to be a cyber liaison. So start looking for things that will give you that additional level up or leg up into the new area that you might want to go to. Do I have any questions, at this time?
Brooke, there is one in the chat. Oh, sorry. You can do it, Dougal, if you were going to.
No, you're good. I was gonna let her know at the end.
Someone named Benjamin said, talking about resumes, what about people who were maybe undesignated and couldn't pick up a rate necessarily before they get out? What kind of stuff should they put on their resume to be able to help guide them to a good job?
All right, a good question. So going back to resumes, and this again is going to focus on using those additional resources. And I am on a later slide, I have a couple of extra helpful hints. If you are, and actually, you know what? Let me make sure I'm understanding when you say unrated. What exactly do you mean by unrated?
So I think typically, Brooke, like in the Navy, and I assume that this is the Navy. So Benjamin, if I'm wrong, let me know. But in the Navy, when you enlist, sometimes you can be undesignated, which means you don't receive a rate right away. You go in and you kind of do a little bit of everything as far as like operational type jobs
Okay.
for a couple of years, and then typically they'll say, okay, you can pick up a rate now, you can be a bosun, or you could, I really liked doing admin work, I want to be an LS or something like that, and they'll kind of slot you in somewhere where they have an opening.
Okay, so in a case like this, what I would do is I would leverage that variety that you're doing, that the fact that you're able, and this is where a lot of companies love the military, because they know that we are capable of doing so many different things, right? So you're going to put in your resume, and I usually put things like this at the top of it, able to spin up quickly, have experience in X, Y, and Z, and then at the end of that, if you've done any specific training, I would do those training courses too. Just because you're unrated and you might not have an AFSC doesn't mean that you can't on your own go through some courses, some computer-based training, and get those, and then put those on your resume. So you're going to highlight your education in cases like this, and you're going to highlight the technical aspect of what you're doing in whatever they put you in. And just because they're like, hey, I need you on the production floor, doing this, that, and the other with this piece of machinery, use that. That's still technical. You still have to program that machine. So you can have production line experience. I don't know if you gave me an example of some of the things you did, I might be able to give you how to tie that in, because what you're looking to do is looking at whatever you do and taking the technology out of that and tying it into what you want to do.
Yeah, I think, Brooke, like one of the things I would say, just as somebody who was like in the Navy, Benjamin, I would say like for sure hire a resume writer to help you out, because a lot of these like painting every day, like how are you gonna make that sound like fabulous and good, right? Resume writers know how to do that, and that's something that a lot of my friends who were bosun's mates ended up doing. They hired a resume writer to help them spin those words into being something that is very true, but also something that you might not think about yourself. So it can be a little bit pricey sometimes, but I know Brooke mentioned it earlier, and I think that a lot of folks I know transitioning have had a really good experience with that. So if you're really not sure what to do with all your skills, that it's really good advice.
Yeah, and like I said, it was one of the best investments. I had to save up for it for a little while, because as she mentioned, it is a little bit pricey, but I have used that same template and just modified all of the additional experience and added the additional experience as needed from that template for over 10 years. No joke. So it ended up being like $10 a year, maybe. I don't know. I just threw that figure out. I'm pretty sure it was. But so definitely leverage that. Again, you should have some CBTs and some additional like computer-based things that you can do. I would sign into that. I don't know the Navy specifically, but I know that each armed forces does have a computer-based training program. And even if it's not under your computer, even if it's not under your AFSC or your MOS, you can still usually accomplish that off duty. And that shows initiative. That shows a willingness to learn. And all of those are tangible things that employees want to see. All right, let me see. Where was I? I think I went to start applying. All right, start applying for positions. This is where we're starting to get fun, have fun. You're going to ask your friends to interview you. Do a mock interview, and then you're going to record that interview and learn what you sound like. You're going to start working on those gaps, those pauses. You're going to create an elevator speech. An elevator speech is usually like 30 to 40 seconds and highlights your experiences and who you are. It is also good to use as an intro in an interview when they ask you, tell me about yourself, and you draw a blank. You have that elevator speech right there. Pull it up, tell them a little about yourself, and then by that time, the synapses will start working and you'll be back engaged, okay? you're going to you're going to volunteer at conferences. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but a lot of these conferences like the Diana Initiative, SANS, DEF CON, Black Hat, a lot of those volunteers are just people that went on the website and volunteered to help out. And when you do that, you get a free pass, you get entry into a lot of good sessions, and you learn a lot. And those can be used as continuing education. Now that they have both virtual and in-place options, it's a lot easier, and they always need more facilitators. I've done it before, and it was one of the best experiences. Attend those conferences. All right, before you get out, that's why I put this as like 3 to 6 months. Before you get out, see if you can get the military to pay for one more conference. Google is your friend. Be like, hey, there's this conference that'll help me with the last blah, 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 blah. Or maybe not. If you already have a job, ask your company to pay. Say that I'm trying to level up on this side, and here's my justification. It doesn't hurt to ask. Look for that veterans discount. There are so many things that have a veterans discount nowadays. Always look for that. All right, next slide. 1 to 3 months out. All right, you're going to continue applying and interviewing. But you're also going to start collecting your medical records. If you're in the reserves, you need to go to the reserve side. But if anytime during the reserves you went to emergency room, you'd also need to fill out an application for active duty side. No, I don't know if this is across all of the military, but I do know for Air Force, anytime that I had to go to the emergency room or the hospital, I went to the active duty section. So when I retired, I had to go to both places and fill out an application so they can send me those records, because I need those records for the VA. You're going to create your usernames and password, MyPERS, DS Login, ID Me, login.gov, your MyPay, your STEP, your virtual education center. You want to make all of these, create these usernames and passwords, because once you retire or separate, you will lose that access because you don't have the CAC anymore. This is important. You are going to want to change your email addresses, especially if you have a certification and it is tied to that .mil. You want to make sure that you get your a standby or alternate email so you can access that certification, because a lot of times when we get certified, we tie it to our .mil. Well, what happens if we forget to change that? We've lost access and we got to go through this whole other level of things. So, oops, I did not mean to do that. Well, I think that's where I am. Sorry about that. All right. If you're already in the cyber career field and you're moving to another cyber, try and get that one last year or two of tokens on whatever certification you already have that's tied. Submit for that. The only thing they can do is tell you no. But if they tell you yes, that's one less $200, $300 thing you need to fill out. You need to budget when you're leaving the military. Remember, when you're in your interviews, to ask if the companies will pay for your fees, if they will pay for conferences and education, continuing education and training, especially if they're hiring you based on that certification. Make sure that they're going to pay you and pay for the upkeep of that certification, because it's not cheap. All right. Please remember that these are options, and I don't know the details for each one, but I want to give you something to at least begin with. So for your VA benefits, everybody usually knows about the GI Bill, active and reserve, but they also have the Edith North Rogers STEM Scholarship, VTech. VTech sends you to a course and allows you to get additional education on top of your GI Bill. It's free education. the Yellow Ribbon Program, again, for resources. And again, this is based off of Air Force because that's where I came from. But you have the e-learning, the My Learning, Udemy, AF Cool. I believe they have, I believe each service has the equivalent of an AF Cool. I just don't know what that is. Any other questions before I move on? No, okay.
No questions.
All right. Other resources. Be a part of organizations. I put some organizations up here. I think it goes without saying, WiCyS, duh, be a part of it. They send out emails, they give you free training, they send you to conferences. InfraGard, same thing. Bright Talk is actually a great place to get continuing education for free. You sign up, you go to their webinars, great. The Diana Initiative. This is inclusive. It is an inclusive organization that focuses on helping women and not just women level themselves up and believe in themselves and network. It's a great thing. I love going to their conferences. SANS Institute, get your library card. I wanted to say this because a lot of people, we don't go to libraries anymore, but you don't really need to go to libraries anymore because you have online libraries. Get your library card. There are libraries out there that give you free library cards, and that is what? Free educational resources like books, IT project management, all of these things. They're at your library. The DoD has a library, and all you need is a .mil address to get it. So, well, and your EDPI, your ID PIN, not PIN, number. So sign up at vendor's website. Each one of these websites that I've listed, Splunk, ServiceNow, Microsoft, over the past year or so, for military, active duty, reservists, and veterans, have given away free knowledge courses, free CBTs, free certifications. Sign up, put it in, and just watch. They're going to send out something free for us. All right. Mentors and advocates. I wanted to touch on this because, one, they are so very important. Okay. I'm gonna say that this right now, what I'm doing for me has been a step outside of my comfort zone, but my mentee kind of talked me into it, not calling any names, but I really do feel that I have information that I like to share. Again, sharing is caring. So mentors are important and advocates are important. During my first slide, I mentioned Sergeant Jones. Sergeant Jones was my MEPS enrollee or whatever. He was my first advocate. I did not think that I was going in as an admin, like I was going to go in as an administrative assistant, a secretary, and I was going to be happy to do that. I wanted to do that. And I started talking to him, and he's like, well, why wouldn't you do something more technical? And I told him, I don't think that's in my capability. He's like, nope, I think that is in your capability. And he gave me a guaranteed job for mainframe computers, something that I, to this day, can't believe that I actually got one. Back in the day, guaranteed jobs were very difficult to actually get, but I got it and I was able to succeed and go from maintaining mainframe computers to being a cybersecurity engineer. wildest dreams, never experienced it. But I had that advocate. He promoted me, he stepped in, and he gave me that little level up, and he helped open up that opportunity that brought me here. Mentors, they guide you, they help answer your questions, they help you to grow. They're like career advisors. I just recently started doing the mentoring thing more seriously, and I hope my mentee enjoys, our sessions. But it's very fulfilling, and they are both mentors and advocates, something that you need to make sure that you have in your life, or be one to someone in their life. All right, we're getting down to the end of it. So tips, advice, and things to remember. Oh my. Be bold, be persistent. I got not my current job, but I got this job with Lockheed because I wanted to work for Lockheed. So I started going to job fairs until I ran into somebody that worked with Lockheed, and I started talking to her, and she's like, well, we have this job position open. I was like, nope, actually, this is the job I want. And I had printed out the rec that I wanted, and I gave it to her, and I was like, I would like this job. And she's like, okay. She gave me her email address, and she's like, give me a week or two to get back, and I'll see what I can do. I got the job. I was persistent. I reached out. I followed up. I like to tell people when they're trying to go after something they need, whether it's a new job or whether it's your current job and you need to get something from somebody and they're making it difficult. Make a nuisance out of yourself. I mean, nicely, but be persistent. I tell people all the time, if I don't get a response, I'm going to go sit on somebody's desk and eat a donut in their face until they acknowledge me. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And maybe if they help me out, they might get this donut that I brought for them. If not, I'm going to eat that donut in front of them too. So just remember to be bold and be persistent. Remember, never give up hope. Make no mistake, as I said earlier, this is a journey. It's not all ups with no downs. You will make mistakes, and you will make mistakes in front of others. The thing to remember is forgiveness and love of yourself. That is so hard for us sometimes. We make a mistake, and it's so hard for us to get over that, and then we start to lose self-confidence. Don't give up. It's going to turn around. You have to be, again, persistent with yourself. Learn from your mistakes and move on. Work through your hard points. This goes to never giving up. As an example, for me, I actually, one of the hardest things I've ever done is almost have a security incident. It was a practice to dangerous security. So it wasn't actually an incident, but it was close. And for me, being almost a perfectionist, I took it very hard, and I went down this little, thing thinking that I just sucked at cyber. No. I had to build myself back up and realize that people make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Don't let that mistake define you. Don't let others let a mistake define you. Show them who you are. You will come out stronger in the end. Know your worth. This is so hard for everybody. Sometimes you have to acknowledge that you might need to move in order to progress in your career. It would be great if every job we have saw our value and we always got the recognition we deserve. However, sometimes you're going to need to make that move in order to get to where you want to be and where you are valued. but know your worth. Be dedicated, be focused, show them who you are. Be so good, they can't ignore you. Right there, Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, love her, love her. Used to have underoos. I take that picture and that Be So Good placard on every single business trip that I go on, because sometimes you just need a visual reminder. And finally, as a woman in the industry, I love, love, love seeing the number of women continue to grow in our industry, and just period. I love seeing us take control and level ourselves up. I want you to remember to support those around you, that sharing is caring, and encouragement is easy to do and can sometimes mean the world to somebody that may be struggling. Don't take the status quo. Make the status quo. Just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean it always has to be done this way. Be the change that you want to see. Pull in those advocates, find those advocates, and most importantly, be an advocate. All right, that's all I have. Now go forth and conquer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Brooke. That was a great presentation. So I'll open the floor for anyone to ask questions. This is the time to ask questions and re-verify some things you might not know about. Okay, well, I do have a question. Since you mentioned that you were going to send me some of the resources to share out to everyone, would that include like the links as well? So that way people can just, click on the link and go to that site.
For the links that I do have, yes, I will definitely send those out. Some of them will be more like some of the links I do have in my presentation, but some of them are just like a link to Microsoft. I'm gonna need you to Google Microsoft. Like, some of the stuff, yes, I will definitely, give you the links that I have, but some of the stuff, just, some easier stuff. Yeah.
Brooke, I
Okay.
heard you say this a few times, and I think this is something that I think a lot about, as like going into a field where it was just way different from anything I had done before. Before I joined the military, guys, by the way, if you don't know, I used to teach kayaking for LL Bean. Like I was in the most
Wow.
non-technical field you could possibly get. Um, and Brooke mentioned this a few times. I just want to reiterate, like, use Google. Like, Google is your friend. Do not be afraid to mention that you are good at Googling things. That is a skill. Being able to find information quickly is a skill that you absolutely can put on your resume. And I think,
Yep.
especially in our field, right? I think everybody in the computer field will probably say this, but being able to Google quickly and get the answers you need,
Oh
because
yeah.
I guarantee you somebody else has had this problem already, right?
Yep. And just like you said, I call it the Google wizard, because every time I get stumped, Google, like, and it's not only that, it's just that there is so much to cyber. There is so much to cyber. You can't remember everything all the time. Like, I used to be proficient in command line, and now I need to Google certain things in order to remember certain things. But Google is your friend.
Great. I was gonna add too that some of those sites also will be beneficial to those that are not military, right? Like military
Yes.
spouse, because not
Yes.
everyone. Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
I do have some things that are, focused on veterans, because that was my experience, but I wanted to make sure that I included things that were non-technical friendly, to help you get to a technical aspect, or just if you're separating and you're not sure if you want to do cyber. It's okay, but a lot of these things are just resources that you can use to get to where you need to be.
Okay,
I'll
awesome.
mention I'll mention too that a lot of these resources, after Brooke sends us her deck, we're going to put a lot of these in our Discord channel. So if you're a member of WiCyS Military and you're interested in getting some of these, email us. If you're not already in our Discord channel, email us and we'll just let us know your WiCyS ID so that we can verify you're a WiCyS member, and then we'll add you right to our Discord channel. And you'll see there's a whole channel dedicated to resources. And I know I think Merle maybe had to go, but she's posting in that channel almost every day, resources for folks transitioning and people who have just gotten out. So there's definitely a lot of resources out there.
Awesome.
Yes, that is true. I don't know if anyone have anything to add. I think that will conclude our meeting. Liz, do you have
Thank you
anything
guys
to
for
say?
inviting me.
And thank you for
Girl, thank
coming.
you.
Yeah, Brooke, you did a great job. I'm glad you stepped out of your comfort zone. Like, you did a fantastic job, and I was so glad to hear about your experiences.
Yeah.
I didn't actually do this up front, but for anybody who doesn't know, my name is Liz. I am the co-president, the WiCyS Military co-president. Kristen is my compatriot, and I know that she kind of got held up today and was not going to be able to make it. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Before you pop off, just to let you know, our March meeting is going to be conference prep, like everything about the WiCyS conference, and some generalized conference prep as well. So I know we talked today a little bit about how going to conferences can be your best friend when trying to get into security. We're going to talk first timers conference prep. We're going to talk about, hey, if you've been a million times and things that you may not be thinking about. We're going to talk about the career fair floor and how to navigate a giant room of just millions of tables where everyone wants to talk to you. So we'll be going into some of that stuff. And again, if you need any resources, you can always email us at WiCysMilitary at WiCys.com. And we are excited to hear from you always.
Awesome. Thank you all again. Have a good evening.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.